The opening scene features a married woman named Nina who is at a convenience store. Her family appears to be going through a financial crisis, making it difficult for them to meet their basic needs. Sasha, her husband, is a lecturer at the same college where Nina studies, but his salary is insufficient for their daily needs. One day, as Nina is on her way home, a random car accidentally splashes water on her. The driver, who turns out to be a wealthy man, soon gets out of the car and apologizes to her. He even offers to pay for her ruined clothes, but Nina simply yells at him before storming off. Upon arriving home, she finds a bank letter revealing that their mortgage is already past due. When her husband Sasha sees this, he becomes enraged at her for failing to remind him of the payment date. Unfortunately, Nina, who had no idea about the letter, starts crying. Soon after, Sasha realizes his mistake and apologizes to her while also stripping her clothes in order to have coitus. On the other hand, we see the same wealthy man from earlier, Sergey, who is dining with his wife and son. One would assume that they are a happy family, but things are the exact opposite. Despite having immense wealth, they are always unhappy because Sergey's wife, Tamara, constantly complains about his lack of time for family, which causes a schism between the two. The next day, Sasha sends Nina to a bank to apply for a job as a translator. As they are obligated to that bank, he hopes that if she works there, the pressure on their mortgage will be reduced to some extent. Later, when Nina arrives at the bank, she is surprised to see Sergey as the chairman, so she turns around and decides to leave, but Sergey stops her, saying they should leave the past behind and move on. After Nina agrees, she is tasked with assisting their Chinese client with translation. Because the client appears to enjoy gambling, Sergey and Nina accompany him to a casino. There, in the middle of the game, Sergey offers Nina a couple of chips, allowing her to bet. She is fortunate enough to win at first, but when she bets the entire chip again for the second round, she loses it all. Afterwards, the Chinese client becomes preoccupied with his own games, so Sergey and Nina spend some time together. He teaches her to bowl and also takes her out to dinner. The two, who were at odds in the beginning, are now enjoying each other's company. However, their wonderful evening is soon ruined when Sergey directly invites her to his room, claiming that he likes her. Enraged, Nina gets up to walk away, but he still tells her to think about his offer again. After work, Nina returns home and shares everything about her day with her husband, including the moment when she held a large sum of $7,000 while playing roulette. She also claims that she did not take it because it would make her obliged towards the chairman, which is not good at all. As expected, Sasha is furious at her for abandoning the money so easily, despite being aware of the current situation. He points out how he's been working as a tourist guide in his spare time to supplement his income. In response, Nina inquires about what would happen if the chairman demanded a one-night stand, but Sergey, who is unaware of the reality, completely ignores the situation. This deeply hurts Nina, as she believes that Sasha has no regard for her feelings. The following morning, Nina meets with her best friend, Lara, and tells her everything. She also discusses her decision to reconsider Sergey's offer solely for financial reasons. Her best friend wonders if she is developing feelings for her boss, but Nina insists that she is still devoted to her husband. Later that day, the bank sends another loan notice, so Nina immediately delivers it to Sasha, who is currently guiding the tourists. Upon going through the letter, he learns that their long overdue case has been heard in court. Nina wishes to help her husband, but she also can't accept Sergey's offer. Her mind is completely consumed by it, and as a result, she is unable to concentrate on her studies. So, after a lot of deliberation, Nina finally ends up calling Sergey, who is delighted to hear from her. He then texts her the time and location, instructing her to meet him the following day. As specified, Nina meets Sergey at a restaurant, and as soon as he learns of her mortgage, he calls his secretary and extends the loan date by 3 months with no interest. He solves her major problem with just one phone call, but despite this, Nina is still dissatisfied. So Sergey clarifies that she does not have to feel forced about anything, because he does not want to do anything against her will. He also expresses his liking for Nina, but permits her to leave if she doesn't like him. Hearing this, she is finally convinced, so she agrees to sleep with him with all her will. After this, Nina returns home on time so that Sasha does not suspect her. Unaware of the truth, he simply expresses relief and joy, claiming that the bank miraculously granted them a reprieve. However, Nina is unaffected by this. Her mind is occupied by multiple thoughts, wondering if what she did was right. Meanwhile, Tamara smells a lady's perfume on her husband's body and concludes that he was with a hooker. The latter doesn't deny it, so an enraged Tamara becomes convinced and decides to leave the house. The following day at college, Nina is still stressed and she can't even talk to her best friend about what she did. While walking home from class, she receives a call from Sergey, who invites her to the same hotel room again, but she promptly declines. Regardless of her refusal, Sergey mentions that he will be waiting for her at 4 p.m. Hearing his confidence, Nina changes her mind and shows up at the same hotel. There, the two have passionate intercourse once again. As they finish, Sergey requests her for another meeting the next Tuesday, to which she agrees innocently. A week passes in the blink of an eye, and Nina arrives at the hotel to see Sergey. However, she can't find him. When Nina asks the receptionist, she learns that he left early that morning. It is then revealed that Sergey's son has fallen sick, due to which he has returned home. Nina and Sergey haven't seen each other in weeks, and as a result, her desperation to see him grows stronger. Whenever she gets a call, she picks it up quickly, hoping it's from Sergey. Unfortunately, his call never comes. Unable to control her desperation, she usually stands outside the bank just to watch him come and go. This indicates that she is eventually falling in love with him. When Nina doesn't receive any texts or phone calls for an extended period of time, she starts feeling depressed. Sasha notices her changed behavior and takes her to a hospital, thinking that she has become sick. However, the doctor only advises him to be gentle and romantic with her. Following the doctor's advice, Sasha later tries to ease into the romance, but Nina, who isn't at all interested, pushes him away and bluntly reveals that she's been sleeping with someone else. Hearing this, Sasha is unable to control his anger and he orders her to leave his place. Nina innocently obliges, and since she has nowhere to go, she calls Sergey at midnight and explains the situation to him. The latter immediately buys her an expensive apartment, but he does not guarantee that they will stay together. The next day, Nina summons her best friend to her new apartment and explains everything that is happening in her life. After learning of her feelings for Sergey, Lara inquires if he will marry her, but Nina has no answer. On the other hand, Sasha is all alone and depressed, so he starts drinking heavily to cope. But this only plunges him into an even further abyss, causing him to get into frequent arguments. Some weeks later, Sasha begins a new relationship with Lara, who seems to have had a crush on him from the start. In the next scene, we see Sergey having breakfast with his family when he receives a phone call from Nina, inviting him to come over. As a result, he walks out of the door, pretending to walk the dog. But Tamara is aware of where he is heading. She appears to be silent, just because she does not want their son to be affected by all of this. Following this, Sergey arrives at Nina's apartment, where the two have their usual intimate moment. Once they're done, they start conversing about different topics. Suddenly, she inquires where she stands in his life, to which Sergey responds, "An important place." Nina is relieved to hear his response, which makes her like him even more. She appears to be much happier with Sergey than with Sasha. As the days pass, Nina still attends the same university and Sasha's lectures. The news of their relationship status appears to have spread throughout the college, making him a topic of gossip. When the rumors get out of control, Sasha approaches Nina and asks her to disappear from his life forever. However, she does not provide him with a specific response, which irritates him. Later that night, Nina is in the shower when she hears the doorbell ring. She excitedly rushes to open the door, expecting to see Sergey, but instead finds Sasha. As the two start talking, he tries persuading her to return to him, saying that Sergey can only give her money and not love. However, Nina's mind is clear, and she explains that she wants to be with Sergey, regardless of whether he loves her back or not. Envious, Sasha loses his temper and assaults her to satisfy his urge. At midnight, a devastated Nina calls Sergey and summons him to the apartment urgently. She explains everything that happened earlier and also admits to being pregnant with Sergey's child. As Sergey looks at her in disbelief, Nina says that she wants to keep the baby and that it will be solely hers if he doesn't want it. Hearing all this, Sergey is stunned, but he assures her that the child won't face any problems in the future. After this, Sergey returns home and reveals everything about his illicit affair to his wife. He also discloses Nina's pregnancy, but Tamara does not react much to it. She appears to have given up on her husband and now doesn't care what he does. Elsewhere, Sasha is on his way home when he is approached by two random guys. Before he can utter a word, they beat him up severely, destroying his face. Fortunately, he has Lara to look after him in the same way that a wife would. However, Sasha is still unable to move on with his life. This incites his rage, and one day he decides to end it all by killing Sergey, the man who seized everything from him. In the next scene, he He waits outside the bank for Sergey, and when the latter arrives, Sasha approaches his car. He is about to stab the wealthy banker with a knife, but Nina, who is also there, intervenes. She somehow manages to calm him down and asks him to leave, claiming it is too late to change anything. The movie then jumps a few years ahead, where we see that Nina has given birth to a baby boy. Sergey has been able to devote equal amounts of time to his wife and Nina. On the other hand, Sasha has married Lara. One day, Nina and Sasha meet at a business party and have a brief conversation. During this, he expresses how much he loves her and is willing to risk everything for her. Nina totally ignores this and asks about Lara, to which he responds that she is not important. Hearing this, Nina invites him to a hotel room where they end up getting intimate. For one more time, Sasha brings up their relationship and his wish to be with her. However, Nina explains that she has changed a lot and that she no longer wants to rely on anyone. It's her soul and it belongs to no one now. Nina also believes that love is merely a contract, which she once broke, resulting in 3 ruined lives. Saying this, she bids him goodbye and departs. The movie ends as an emotional Nina walks out of the hotel, but she doesn't let it show on her face and continues to live her independent life.